Hey guys, Miss Salem back at it again with the Titan's Curse. I wanted to record another video today because why not? We're doing the social distancing thing. I am ready. Take a break. Got my goldfish bottle, a Sandlin staple. Got my alpaca pants on. Don't tell Miss Higgins. She would want to steal them from me. And we're going to start reading chapter 3. Alright, chapter 3. Bianca D'Angelo makes a choice. After seeing Dr. Thorne turn into a monster and plummet off the edge of a cliff with Annabeth, you'd think nothing else could shock me. But when this 12-year-old little girl told me that she was the goddess Artemis, I said something real intelligent, like, okay? That was nothing compared to Grover, though. He gasped, then he knelt hastily in the snow and started yammering. "Thank you, Lady Artemis. You're so, wow." "Get up, goat boy," Talia snapped. "We have other things to worry about. Annabeth is gone." "Whoa," Bianca D'Angelo said. "Hold up. Time out." Everybody looked at her. She pointed her finger at all of us in turn, like she was trying to connect the dots. Who are you people?" Artemis's expression softened. "It might be a better question, my dear girl, is to ask, who are you? Who are your parents?" Bianca glanced nervously at her brother, who was still staring in awe at Artemis. "Our parents are dead," Bianca said. "We're orphans. There's a bank trust that pays for our school, but..." She faltered. I guess she could tell from our faces that we didn't believe her. "What?" she demanded. "I'm telling the truth." "You are a half-blood," Zoe Nightshade said. Her accent was hard to place. It sounded old-fashioned, like she was reading from a really old book. "One of thy parents was mortal. The other was an Olympian." "An Olympian? Like an athlete?" "No," Zoe said. "One of the gods." "Cool," said Nico. "No." Bianca's voice quavered. "This is so not cool." Nico danced around like he needed to use the restroom. "Does Zeus really have lightning bolts that do 600 damage? Does he get extra movement points for..." "Nico, be quiet!" Bianca put her hands to her face. "This is not your stupid mytho-magic game, okay? There are no gods." As anxious as I felt about Annabeth, all I wanted to do was search for her. I couldn't help feeling sorry for the D'Angelos. I remembered what it was like when I first learned that I was a demigod. Talia must have been feeling something similar because the anger in her eyes did subside a little bit. "Bianca, I know it's hard to believe, but the gods are still around. Trust me, they're immortal. And whenever they have kids with regular humans, kids like us, well, our lives are dangerous." "Dangerous," Bianca said. "Like that girl who fell?" Talia turned away. Even Artemis looked pained. "Do not despair for Annabeth," the goddess said. "She was a brave maiden. If she can be found, I shall find her." "Then why won't you let us go look for her?" I asked. "She is gone. Can't you sense it, son of Poseidon? Some magic is at work here. I do not know exactly how or why, but your friend has vanished." I still wanted to jump off the cliff myself and search for her, but I had a feeling that Artemis was right. Annabeth was gone. If she'd been down there in the sea, I thought I'd be able to feel her presence. "Ooh!" Nico raised his hand. "What about Dr. Thorne? That was awesome how you shot him with arrows. Is he dead?" "He was a manticore," Artemis said. "Hopefully he is destroyed for now, but monsters never truly die. They reform over and over again, and they must be hunted whenever they reappear." "Or they'll hunt us," Talia said. Bianca D'Angelo shivered. "That explains..." "Nico, do you remember last summer? Those guys who tried to attack us in the alley in D.C.? "And that bus driver," Nico said. "The one with the ram's horns. I told you that was real." "That's why Grover has been watching you," I said. "To keep you safe if you turned out to be real half-bloods." "Grover?" Bianca stared at him. "You're a demigod too?" "Well, satyr, actually." He kicked off his shoes and displayed his goat hooves. I thought Bianca was going to faint right there. Grover, put your shoes back on, Talia said. You're freaking her out. Hey, my hooves are clean. Bianca, I said, we came here to help you. You and Nico need training to survive. Dr. Thorne won't be the last monster you meet. You need to come with us back to camp. Camp? She asked. Camp Half-Blood, I said. It's where half-bloods like us learn to survive and stuff. You can join us, stay there year-round if you like. Sweet, let's go, said Nico. Wait, Bianca shook her head. There is another option, Zoe said. No, there isn't, Talia said very forcefully. Talia and Zoe glared at each other. I didn't know what they were talking about, but I could tell there was some bad beef between them. For some reason, they seriously hated each other. We've burdened these children enough, Artemis announced. Zoe, we will rest here for a few hours, raise the tents, treat the wounded, retrieve our guest belongings from the school. Yes, milady. And Bianca, come with me. I would like to speak to you. What about me? Nico asked. Artemis considered the boy. Perhaps you can show Grover how to play that card game you enjoy. I'm sure Grover would be happy to entertain you for a while, as a favor to me. And Grover just about tripped over himself getting up. You bet. Come on, Nico. Let's go. Nico and Grover walked off toward the woods, talking about hit points and armor ratings and a bunch of other geeky stuff. Artemis led a confused-looking Bianca along the cliff. The hunters began unpacking their knapsacks and making camp. Zoe gave Talia one more evil look, then left to oversee things. As soon as she was gone, Talia stamped her foot in frustration. The nerve of those hunters! They think they're so... Ugh! I'm with you, I said. I don't trust... Oh, you're with me! And then Talia turned on me furiously. What were you thinking back there in the gym, Percy? You'd take on Dr. Thorne all by yourself? You knew he was a monster. If we'd stuck together, we could have taken him without the hunters getting involved. Annabeth might still be here. Did you think of that? And my jaw clenched. I thought of some harsh things to say, and I might have said them too. But then I looked down and saw something navy blue lying in the snow at my feet. Annabeth's New York Yankees baseball cap. Talia didn't say another word. She swiped a tear from her cheek, turned and marched off, leaving me alone with a trampled cap in the snow. The hunters set up their camping site in a matter of minutes. 7 large tents, all silver silk, curved in a crescent around one side of a bonfire. One of the girls blew a silver dog whistle, and a dozen white gloves appeared out of the woods. They began circling the camp like guard dogs. The hunters walked among them and fed them treats, completely unafraid, but I decided I would stick close to the tents. Falcons watched us from the trees, their eyes flashing in the firelight, and I got the feeling they were on guard duty too. Even the weather seemed to bend to the goddess's will. The air was still cold, but the wind died down and the snow stopped falling, so it was almost pleasant sitting by the fire. Almost, except for the pain in my shoulder and the guilt weighing me down. I couldn't believe Annabeth was gone, and as angry as I was at Talia, I had a sinking feeling that she was right. It was my fault. What had Annabeth wanted to tell me in the gym? Something serious, she'd said. Now I might never find out. I thought about how we danced together for half a song, and my heart felt even heavier. I watched Talia pacing in the snow at the edge of camp, walking among the wolves without fear. She stopped and looked back at Westover Hall, which was now completely dark, looming on the hillside beyond the woods. I wondered what she was thinking. 7 years ago, Talia had been turned into a pine tree by her father to prevent her from dying. She'd stood her ground against an army of monsters on top of Half-Blood Hill in order to give her friends Luke and Annabeth time to escape. She'd only been back as a human for a few months now, and once in a while she would stand so motionless you'd think she still was a tree. Finally, one of the hunters brought me my backpack. Grover and Nico came back from their walk, and Grover helped me fix up my wounded arm. It's green, Nico said with delight. Hold still, Grover told me. Here, eat some ambrosia while I clean that out. I winced as he dressed the wound, but the ambrosia square helped. It tasted like homemade brownie, dissolving in my mouth and sending a warm feeling through my whole body. Between that and the magic salve Grover used, My shoulder felt better within a couple of minutes. Nico rummaged through his own bag, which the hunters had apparently packed for him, though now they'd snuck into Westover Hall unseen. I had no idea how. Nico laid out a bunch of figurines in the snow, little battle replicas of Greek gods and heroes. I recognized Zeus with a lightning bolt, Ares with a spear, and Apollo with a sun chariot. That's a big collection, I said. Nico grinned. I've almost got all of them, plus they're holographic cards. Well, except for a few really rare ones. You've been playing this game a long time? Just this year. Before that, and he knit his eyebrows. What? I asked. I forget. That's weird. He looked unsettled, but it didn't last long. Hey, can I see that sword you were using? I showed him Riptide and explained how it turned from a pen into a sword just by uncapping it. Cool. Does it ever run out of ink? Well, I actually don't write with it. Are you really the son of Poseidon? Well, yeah. Can you surf really well then? And I looked at Grover, who was trying really hard not to laugh. Geez, Nico, I said, I've never really tried. He went on asking questions. Did I fight a lot with Talia, since she was a daughter of Zeus? I didn't answer that one. If Annabeth's mother was Athena, the goddess of wisdom, then why didn't Annabeth know better than to fall off a cliff? I tried not to strangle Nico for asking that one. Was Annabeth my girlfriend? And at this point, I was ready to stick the kid in a meat-flavored sack and throw him to the wolves myself. I figured any second he was going to ask me how many hit points I had and I'd lose my cool completely. But then Zoe Nightshade came up to us. Percy Jackson. She had dark brown eyes and a slightly upturned nose. With her silver circlet and her proud expression, she looked so much like royalty that I had to resist the urge to sit up straight and say, "Yes, ma'am." She stared at me distastefully like I was a bag of dirty laundry she'd been sent to fetch. "Come with me," she said. "Lady Artemis wishes to speak with thee." And Zoe led me to the last tent, which looked no different from the others, and waved me inside. Bianca D'Angelo was seated next to the auburn-haired girl, who I still had trouble thinking of as Artemis. The inside of the tent was warm and comfortable. Silk rugs and pillows covered the floor. In the center, a golden brazier of fire seemed to burn without fuel or smoke. Behind the goddess was a polished oak display stand. Was her huge silver bow carved to resemble gazelle horns. The walls were hung with animal pelts, black bear, tiger, and several others I didn't recognize. I figured an animal rights activist would have had a heart attack looking at all those rare skins, but maybe Artemis, goddess of the hunt, she could replenish whatever she shot. I thought she had another animal pelt lying next to her, and then I realized it was a live animal. A deer with glittering fur and silver horns, its head resting contentedly in Artemis's lap. "Join us, Percy Jackson," the goddess said. I sat across from her on the tent floor. The goddess studied me, which made me uncomfortable. She had such old eyes for such a young-looking girl. "Are you surprised by my age?" she asked. A little." "I could appear as a grown woman, or a blazing fire, or anything else I want. But this is what I prefer. This is the average age of my hunters, and all young maidens for whom I am patron before they go astray." "Go astray?" I asked. "Grow up, become smitten with boys, become silly, preoccupied, insecure, forget themselves." "Oh." And Zoe sat down at Artemis's right. She glared at me as if all the stuff Artemis had just said was my fault, like I'd invented the idea of being a guy. "You must forgive my hunters if they do not welcome you," Artemis said. "It is very rare that we would have boys in this camp. Boys are usually forbidden to have any contact with the hunters. The last one to see this camp..." She looked at Zoe. "Which one was it?" "That boy in Colorado," Zoe said. "You turned him into a jackalope." "Ah, yes," Artemis nodded, satisfied. "I enjoy making jackalopes. At any rate, Percy, I've asked you here so that you might tell me more of the manticore. Bianca has reported some of the, disturbing things the monster said, but she may not have understood them. I'd like to hear them from you." And so I told her. When I was done, Artemis put her hand thoughtfully on her silver bow. I feared that this was the answer. Zoe sat forward. "The scent, my lady?" "Yes." "What scent?" I asked. Things are stirring that I have not hunted in a millennia, Artemis murmured. Prey so old I have nearly forgotten. And she stared at me intently. We came here tonight sensing the manticore, but he was not the one I seek. Tell me again exactly what Dr. Thorne said. I hate middle school dances. No, after that. He said somebody called the General was going to explain things to me. And Zoe's face paled. She turned to Artemis and started to say something, but Artemis raised her hand. Go on, Percy, the goddess said. Well, then Thorne was talking about the great stirring, Bianca corrected. Yeah, and he said, soon we shall have the most important monster of all, the one that shall bring about the downfall of Olympus. The goddess was so still she could have been a statue. Maybe he was lying, I said, and Artemis shook her head. No, he was not. I've been too slow to see the signs. I must hunt this monster before it's too late. Zoe looked like she was trying very hard not to be afraid, but she nodded. We'll leave right away, my lady. No, Zoe, I must do this one alone. But Artemis, this task is too dangerous even for the hunters. You know where I must start my search. You cannot go there with me. As you wish, my lady. I will find this creature, Artemis vowed, and I shall bring it back to Olympus by winter solstice. It will be all the proof I need to convince the Council of Gods of how much danger we are in. You know what the monster is? I asked. Artemis gripped her bow. Let us pray that I am wrong. And I'll stop us there, kind of in the middle of chapter 3. I wonder what kind of crazy monster it is that Artemis is worried about hunting. Who knows when we'll find out. Hopefully Annabeth's okay. Percy and Talia are button heads. That's not too surprising. I do wonder what Nico was talking about, that he couldn't remember something before last year. Makes me think somebody's been meddling with their lives and they're not even sure who it is. But like I said, I'll leave that here for today. I'll see you guys tomorrow on Friday for our next part of our read aloud. Have a good one.